Welcome, Survivor and Killer Mains all around to the Grindhouse Massacre Games lower bracket round 2 matchup between PSR and Vicinal. Here we have Georgie coming out from the side of PSR, killing on the Executioner or the Pyramid Head. We see here getting an early chase onto Gray. Almost looked like he was going to fake the M2 is going to drop the sword back down, but instead fully commits and ends up getting the hit. Now, we see here another chase happening around Shaq, going for the prediction hit, but Gray just in time to dodge it. You see here Gray is pathing towards sort of this 5 corner, trying to go back into the corrupt area, because if he needs to die, this is the best area to do it in. And again, going for those M2 fakes. Looks like he's going to pull, but just ends up committing in the end. Georgie looking at the edge, think there's something else here, but no, that will be the first hook. So we see here Georgie on a pretty standard build. We have Corrupt for some early game pressure, Pain Res and Eruption, and Ruin all together just to help stave off these gens here. And then we see here he's running, instead of double range, which is a lot more of a popular option, he's instead opting for the purple add-on, which gives Mangled and Hemorrhage onto any hits with Punishment of the Damned. We see here running over all the way towards 7, seeing someone who's working on this gen. Is instead just going to force him off the gen to get some passive regression onto Rune. This was a very early chase, and this is also quite a fast down, so there shouldn't be a lot of gen pressure quite yet for the Vicinal survivors. Georgie is in a very comfortable position right now with a pretty tight 3, not as tight as a 3 gen that he could have, but still pretty close. He has this, obviously this gen right next to Gray's Hulk. He has one over at 3, and then a little off he has Shaq, and he also has a gen over by the truck. So he has a very tight area to lock down, but we know that there's someone working on this truck gen over here. Again, just gonna walk over, force him off the generator, get some ruin value. So your generator pops in the distance. Doesn't look like. So, alright, so we see one of the Vicinal survivors rotate around for the unhook, and that's me spinning straight back onto Gray. We did not see who this mysterious unhooker was, but it doesn't seem to matter, as even against Pyramid Head, it's kind of hard to take a hit, especially if they're coming to an M2. But Georgie ends up missing the N2, gives Gray a little bit of distance, but Gray ends up vaulting, and Georgie is able to catch him immediately after the vault. This is going to be first death for Georgie. As you see here, 3 generators popping for the life of Gray. So it's still pretty on pace for Georgie now. He still has sort of an area from Shaq to 4 all the way over to 3. Still has this sort of area, and see here it's gonna be chase onto Bronzy on the edge. This pallet was not ahead of time, tries to go for a prediction M2, but Bronzy just keeps holding forward. See here, holding the M2 again, thinks that Bronzy is going to dodge away from the window to try and avoid it, but ends up just committing straight for the window, and this is pretty good by Bronzy right now, but it looks like it'd be M1. Actually, no, bounce landing immediately off the top of the hill. Over on 212, aka the fun bus. Goes for an M2 and commits to it instead. That's gonna be first hit onto Bronzy. Bronzy's gonna opt to stay by this truck, by double buses, and instead Georgie's gonna end up dropping this chase and applying pressure onto the Shaq gen, which he knows now has a ton of pressure. Speed chase onto G-Bot. Goes for a bit of a prediction M2, but ends up missing it. I believe that he did not have enough range for that. He's going to find Slash on the edge of 9. Now he knows where all 3 generators, he knows where all 3 survivors are. And that's going to be cleansed onto Ruin as we go into the 3v1. Great hit coming there for Georgie. Knowing exactly where Slash is going to want to go to try and avoid him. See here, continuing chase on to 6. Sword back in the ground. dragging it all the way from Canada all the way to America, and that's going to be a down onto Slash. Pyramid Head can oftentimes feel like a bit of a frustrating set to go up against, just because a lot of it ends up just coming down to M2 fakes and putting the sword in the ground, running away thinking he's gonna hit you with an M2, and he just pulls the sword back up, and nope, it's an M1 hit, and it sometimes feels a bit cheesy, but what are you gonna do about it? See here, Bronzy is still injured, so reset hasn't come through quite yet, and almost all of the progress that's been built up on the Shack Gen for a while is now lost from Ruin previously, and then also the Pain Res that was hit by it. George is going to catch G-Bot around 6, running up towards this truck area. Is going to opt to not fully chase him, and instead he's going to peer all the way over to 9 to see if he can catch Bronzy, who is still injured and is most likely working on Generator right now, considering that G-Bot looks like he is in prime position to get the unhook. We see a lot of pressure onto... There's just a lot of progress on 3 this entire time. He's trying to look for Bronzy, but Bronzy's doing an amazing job at his pathing is immaculate and bought him enough distance to get away from only from 3 over to Shack now. That's a lot of distance being made from Bronzy. He's going to keep continuing this, going to take it all the way up to the top side, but in the end is going to fall to Georgie's excellent sniping capabilities. Now he's going to not opt for the cage, and is instead just going to go for a normal hook to get Pain Res to regress some of that progress built onto 3. In the meantime, unhook was found by G-Bot onto Slash. Judging by the way that they played that last hook, I'm assuming that I was going to assume that they're not going to go for reset, but it looks like an insta-pull straight away onto Bronzy. Now Georgie is looking around the edge of 3. He's going to predict that someone's nearby, but he's going to get blinded by a blast mine set up on this generator at 3. He's going to try and look for the perpetrator, the one that placed the mine there. He's not going to find anyone around here. I don't think that anyone is in this area right now. I think what's going on is that Vicinal is opting instead to reset somewhere away from this generator, and they're going to try and tackle this gen. If Vicinal play this slowly, just taking advantage of pre-runs and not trying to be caught out in a bad position and trying to last as long and chase, they could very much easily get outs here. But Georgie does still have a pretty tight setup here. So he's going to depend on if Georgie can get these downs fast enough. Gonna look around the hill. It's not gonna be able to find anyone. Gonna predict that there's gonna be survivors stealthing along the edges of this map, cautiously inching their way towards generators. But no, there's just someone's working on this gen over here in the corner. He's gonna find G-Bot by the edge here. If G-Bot's the only survivor here, then Georgie does not a lot to worry about. But if there's a second survivor there that was doubling it with him, then this chase needs to be pretty quick in order for that eruption to really kick in. So gen off in the distance is gonna pop again. He's gonna look for the M2 fake. G-Bot is trying to blind him with the firecracker, but to no avail. So it's gonna be down from here. Eruption. That's going to be a... We're approaching the regression limit of the generator over at 3 with that pain res here. That was the warning sound that was cut off. Georgie is trying to look around this area. I believe he heard the footsteps of someone running by as he picked up G-Bot. So I think that's what he's trying to look for. He's trying to look for potentially Slashes here for the unhook, and Slash is indeed here. You chase around, is gonna opt to chain it over towards the window. Is gonna try and fake the inner window, but Georgie's not gonna fall for it. So you're running into the trails, knowing exactly where Slash is now, and that is being down onto Slash. The only unaccounted survivor for left is Bronzy. Bronzy potentially was over at 3, and he was at 3. Now he's running over to the unhook. He's gonna go for the double hit onto the... He's going for the classic execution double hit immediately off the hook. taking away G-Bot's endurance and getting an injure onto Bronzy. Now both survivors have opted to scatter from each other to run in opposite directions, try and split up, try and buy a little more time for potentially to get the pickup onto Slash. Now, G-Bot does indeed get the pickup onto Slash, but Slash isn't in the safest position. This Paladin's not ultimately that safe against Pyramid Head, but it's going to run back and get the pallet stun onto Georgie. Slash is just kind of forced to stay here. Jordan is going to opt to drop this chase. Is trying to look for any other survivors of Vicinal, either working on the generator over here or potentially looking for a reset. A lot of pressure on 3 right now. Yeah. Georgie knew that there's someone over here. Whoever that survivor was, they're just going to opt to pre-run over way. A second blast mine. Georgie getting blinded by the lights once again. That's going to be approaching the regression limits of 3. I believe Georgie may only have a kick or 2 left on that gem before he really, before Vicinal can just really put their brakes on the gas pedal and just really trying to hammer out that gen. He's looking towards the top side, trying to see if Vicinal survivors, he's trying to look for the reset, but unfortunately he does not look in the right area, and the reset on both G-Bot and Slash is gonna happen, and I presume the reset on Bronzy as well, but no, he finds the body of G-Bot. He could potentially also find the body of Bronzy nearby, but he's not gonna opt to actually chase G-Bot. Instead, just gonna try and go back to 3 here. One of these survivors could have potentially stealth over to 3 and is working on it as G-Bot called out that, you know, Georgie found him over at Trucks, which on the opposite side of the map, but does not end up finding anyone nearby actively working on this gen. Georgie is very mindful of this generator. He knows that this is probably their highest priority gen. He's going to find Slash on the edge of 3. Chase is on. Going over to 6, this double window setup not too strong against Pyramid Head, all things considered, and Slash is going to end up holding down the W key and is just going to opt to take the death at the edge of the map. That's good. The eruption hit, and now Georgie knows that there's someone over there now. He heard the scream of someone being hit by eruption, so he has information now on where at least one other Vicinal survivor is. He's going to opt to barrel it straight towards 3 now. He has that information. He's going to go to the edge of 3 potentially to see if that survivor who's hit by eruption ran away from the generator. Does not see any scratch parts anywhere. Gonna come back to this gen. He knows that no one's here. He sees that the generator is still regressing, so he didn't have the time to stop it really. Was gonna opt for the cage onto Slash Knight because he didn't really have enough. He didn't really have any time that he could waste on picking up Slash and dragging him with the hook. He's gonna try and opt to look for potentially survivors stealthing around buses. He's not gonna find anything. Gonna try and prevent someone from. He finds a cage of where Slash Knight was sent to. He's gonna try and prevent someone from coming forward to save. And yeah, no one goes for it, and Slash Knight is gonna die inside the cage. I think what Georgie was trying to do here is I think Georgie was going to approach the cage at the last second and get the cage to teleport away, so preventing anyone from unhooking it. He finds the generator over here at 4 that both survivors were doubling. This is going to be a very crucial chase here. Bronzy either needs to stall as much time as possible, or ooh, a great double hit coming from Georgie, combining both M1 and M2 to get that down as fast as possible. And he's going to opt to keep Bronzy stuck on the ground. He's going to find chase on G-Bot here. G-Bot has a lot on his plate to work with. If he could potentially last a bit to try and pick up Bronzy, but it looks like this is over now, honestly. This is looking like a 4K1 as soon as Bronzy went down. G-Bot's going to try and last for a little bit, but doesn't really have anything to work with here. Only has a truck, no pallet nearby. Well, okay, I lied. There's a pallet right there. But he really just... G-Bot doesn't really have anything to play for. He can, in fact, go for the pickup on Bronzy, but if Georgie's close enough, he could just down both of them as soon as Bronzy's picked up with his M2. So G-Bot really just doesn't have much to work with here. He's gonna opt to play this long wall jungle gym, but yeah, it just looks like G-Bot's just trying to stall the inevitable. and chain it to this 4-lane. See here. This looks like it should be a down. Georgie faking the M2 once again. Gbot drops the pallet, but this is a very unsafe pallet. It's very easy for Gbot to just die here, and he's going to opt to leave it instead, but it's still going to be the down onto Gbot, and that's going to be, all things considered, that's going to be a 4K1 result for Georgie. Pyramid Head on records, Jared. A pretty good result, but still, a 4K2 win con is not completely out of the question here for Vicinal's killer. So PSR are not, PSR can't breathe too easy quite yet. This is still the very achievable win con here for Vicinal. So we'll be back in a bit for Vicinal's killer against PSR survivors. Welcome back, Survivor and Killer mains all around to the second set of Pyramid Head here on the losers round 2 against PSR and Vicinal. We have a Gbot coming out on the side of Vicinal, killing. We see here pretty much the exact same build as Georgie, but opting instead for double range instead of Crimson Ceremony book for trying to end those chases a little bit faster. We're gonna, speak of chases, a very fast chase onto Tyro here. Opting instead to leave the fun bus, gonna chain it to this filler pallet, but Gbot does not fall for it too long, and is going to end up with the eventual hit onto Tyro because of Pyramid Head's power. Gonna stay around this pallet gym here, and I was gonna try and chain it back towards the edge filler pallet, but in an attempt to try and avoid Pyramid Head's power, and it's just gonna run forward, and Gbot's gonna take the sword out of the ground, and is just gonna die in the comp corner like a good little comp survivor. That's gonna be the first hook for Gbot here. Almost on pace to match Georgie's performance, which is fine, but if Vicinal really want if Vicinal want to win that set, it's gonna be a 4K2, which like I said last time, not out of the question, but is gonna Gbot's gonna have to work a little bit harder for it. He's gonna get on top of the hill, try and look for any other survivors here. Tight once again, tight 3-gen around the 9 side, so Gbot has something to work with here. Is going to end up finding Georgie, who was a Pyramid Head last time and is now being chased. He's going to dodge the M2, and is not going to be a tag onto Georgie. So once we're accounted for, a generator pops, and Gbot is potentially looking for someone's stealthing along the way to get Tiro off of this, but doesn't seem like anyone is coming. Pyro is just going to end up hitting stage 2 unless we have someone in the sprint burst in the middle chair waiting around a corner to just grab it, but that does not look like it. We see here instead we have Swing Blade 7 working on this double buses generator, getting a bit of progress onto it. An immediate rune cleanse, I believe that was during Tyro's chase. It's going to be a good hit through the wall onto Swingblade, and Gbot is going to take that tag and it's going to come back to Tyro's hook. Now it looks like that Swingblade was the closest survivor, so it doesn't look like Swingblade can come in for a trade anymore. And in fact, going to find Georgie too. Georgie's going to opt to run all the way towards Tyro's hook, but I don't think he's going to get it in time before he downs. Oh, he does. He does grab Tyro off the hook just in time. Tyro here is going to have a pretty Herculean task ahead of him to try and get as much as possible. Gbot with the perfect patience there, waiting, because he knew that Tyro wanted to exit the shack through the open doorway, and ends up getting a tag onto Tyro to take away his endurance. Not going to follow up on it, but instead going to opt to come back in and hook Georgie, and is going to find a chase onto Swingblade, who was injured previously, and Swingblade running into another Clay generator. This is going to be pretty bad for PSR. Swingblade's going to end up going down on a pallet. So if Pi, who I presume is nearby, wants to go for the save, no, he's not. Instead, he's going to run all the way and grab Georgie off of the hook. this is starting to fall apart a little bit for PSR, as that's gonna be pain resistance. Now we know that PSR have progress on at least has really high progress on at least 2 generators, but that's gonna be finding Tyro near the edge, waiting for someone to reset him. But instead, Gbot's gonna commit to the chase on, and Tyro is in fact on death hook. This could be death at 4 gens, which would be pretty big for Gbot. Tyro jumps straight into Gbot's loving embrace and gives him the death. That's going to be a death for Gbot here, with 3 generators remaining. Decent pace on PSR's part, being able to pop 2 generators before the first survivor dies, but unlike last time, that's gonna be pretty costly, as it costs not only the death of his run, but also a couple stages onto Georgie. Swing Blade opts to vault the pallet between the downtime of Pyramid Head, take his sword in and out of the ground, and is gonna end up avoiding another close down. But doesn't look like he'd avoid. It doesn't look like he have any wooden pallets per se to stop his pursuer, and he's gonna end up taking the death onto the edge of 9, going round around the copper rock. Let's see here. I do not believe Swing Blade has already been hit before, so no painters there. Pi is the last fresh hook survivor. This is kinda at this point, because the Tycon for PSR is 4K1. So we're already down to 2 generators remaining. If Gbot wants to win this match, he needs to find the survivors of PSR and these chases as quickly as possible. He's gonna find the injured Georgie near the double buses. If he can get this down on Georgie really fast, that could be incredible for him. And I think he is. Georgie's gonna look to trying to avoid the M1. He's gonna avoid the M2, but ooh, Gbot swings ahead of time. It looked like that Georgie wanted to go back and drop the pallet on him, but Gbot swung just far enough to prevent Georgie from getting the pallet drop notification. It was not end up, and this ended up giving Gbot another hook. That's going to be a second hook onto Georgie now. And in the meantime, Pi getting the unhook and the reset onto Swing Blade 7. Now, if PSR really wants to, that's gonna be a free M1 onto Pi. A chase on the Pi now. If Pi goes down fast enough, that's gonna be a pain resonance onto any gen that could even potentially have some progress on it. It looks like that Pi wants to avoid the M2, goes really wide for it, but Gbot fakes it and does not manage to make it to the pallet in time. That's gonna be a down onto Pi. This is devastating for PSR now. Swing Blade is gonna find the unhook onto Georgie now, but if PSR want to make a full recovery, Swing Blade really needs to the last here to try and either get Georgie enough time to pop a generator that they might have high progress on, or to get the pickup onto Pi. Good dodge there from Swing Blade. Another good dodge here. Really putting work in and not getting hit by these M2s, and instead Jim's going to opt to pick up Pi and is most likely looking for a pain resonance hook to erase what progress of a generator that the PSR could even have at this point. I believe it hit the back gen, and he's going to try, Gbot's going to try and hunt down the pursuer. Going to try and pursue whoever it was that was on this generator. Most likely it was Georgie. They believe he is on the tracks of Georgie. Georgie, almost nothing to work with here. That's going to be a really fast unhook onto Pi, and that's going to be a great blind shot for Gbot. That's going to death of Georgie. Now there's only 2 survivors left. They need to pop one more gen to win this set. Or to tie the set even. Not even win the set, just tie the set. For PSR. The bright side is they needed to waste no time on actually getting a reset through, because Pi was the player running second wind, which allowed him to instantly heal off of the hook, but He's gonna end up finding chase onto Swingblade. Swingblade here really needs to last enough time to buy Georgie time to get back onto that Shack Gen. Gonna pre out the pallet really early, but Jiba's gonna opt to break it now. And now all that Swingblade has to work with here is a window of the short wall and potentially another filler. Gonna try and chain it to this filler over here, but no, there's no pallet here. And that's gonna be a hit onto Swingblade. And Jiba needs to decide if he wants to commit to this or go back towards Shack. And he's gonna go back towards the Shack. I think Pi is just gonna Pi works a gen in his face, is gonna pop it even through the injure. So that's not gonna be no win for Vicinal. That's just gonna be at the very least a tie of this Pyramid Head set. I don't think that PSR can script together another gen, because I think that all progress they had was on Shack Gen. Even if Swingblade were to start a gen like right now, I don't think there's any available that they could work on. So I think this is just looking like another 4K1. That's gonna be, we're starting this series off with a tie on Pyramid Head. Ends up not finding Swingblade here. Gonna try and just look around the body of Pi to try and potentially catch Swingblade here. Even if Swingblade and Pi try and coordinate well enough to potentially give Swingblade the hatch, the problem is that the way that this map works out, no matter where they are, I think that Gbot will just end up reaching back before Swingblade can. Of how how small this map is and how close proximity everything is to Shack, since it is centered. It's still trying to look for Swingblade here. I think the absolutely insane play would to have Swingblade work on a generator this entire time. Like if like theoretically Swingblade just like went back over to 3 and was just cranking that gen out right now. I actually think with as much time Jiba was spending, could potentially have popped it, but no, it's not gonna go for not gonna go for that, because that would just been way too risky. Instead, just still stealth somewhere. Swingblade doing a really good job at stealthing, not letting Gbot even get a single hint as to where they are, and I think Gbot might just ultimately just end up taking the pickup onto Pi. It's gonna end up taking the pickup on the Pi, and Swingblade and can only really look towards trying to get the hatch. But yeah, look, Gbot is already like insta on it. So unless Swingblade like comes around the corner like last second, I don't know, pulls out a I don't know, man, pulls out like an M27 like grenade launcher and just like shoots Pyramid Head with it, I don't think Swingblade has any chance of getting hatch. And this is getting a lot harder to even play for the gates too, because Swingblade is injured, so he's gonna leave bloodstains no matter what, unless Swingblade is a survivor equipped with adrenaline. In that case, now this becomes a lot more doable, as Gbot actually doesn't really have the best line of sight between both gates because of all the junk like in between, but it doesn't really matter since he caught Swingblade towards the Shack towards the gate to be begin with. So this will result in the 4K one that I prophesized earlier. So yeah, no, both Pyramid players, both Gbot and Georgie, you know, very solid performances, able to very evenly matched too. So this set will potentially go all the way if both teams are able to be this evenly matched. It's gonna go for another M2 fake. It's gonna gain the hit onto Swingblade, and yeah, as this chase is happening in the background, next after this set, which will end eventually. It will end eventually. It will end eventually. It will end eventually. Okay. Okay. Is the hit gonna go through? Yeah, you know, okay. Obviously, they're having a little bit of fun, but that was kind of humorous to look at from spectator POV. But don't leave quite yet, because up next we have Blight on Blood Lodge. Coming up next. Welcome back, survivors and killer mains all around to set number 2 for the lower bracket match against PSR and Vicinal. Here we have Grindhouse coming up on the side of Vicinal on the Blight on Blood Lodge, getting a very early hit onto Shadowhunter 12. This is going to be a very fast-paced set, as indicated by the double speed add-on side. Grindhouse is opting to run, tries to go for just an M1 swing through the pallet, but Shadowhunter is perceptive enough to catch onto that and that's the pallet ahead of time. Has moved very early down onto Shadowhunter 12. You know, that's kind of the thing with Blight. Early downs are kind of early and fast downs are his bread and butter. You can see here Grindhouse running Eruption Colubrine, which used to be just the bane of everyone's existence back when Colubrine was 200% and regression limits weren't a thing. And then also Dying Light for that extra bit of Gen slowdown. Go and kick over Gen, apply Eruption to it. Opt to look on the hill. Try and look for anyone else in particular, but not gonna find anyone. Grindhouse is opting to stay very close to Shadow's hook. Because he knows that as soon as Shadowhunter's off this hook, he just instantly catch up. Look to confirm. Second stage is going to try and block the. It's going to try to block unhook, but doesn't actually end up hitting Tyro. He just hits Shadowhunter, and that's not going to be a free tag on the Tyro. That's instead going to be a body block from Georgie, allowing Shadowhunter to reach Shaq. Gen pops in the background. Shaq pallet gone already, and that's going to be Shadowhunter just booking it over to the edge corner of the map. Gonna hit the dead hard onto Grindhouse. A very, very well-timed dead hard here, and it's going to allow him to stay alive just a little bit longer. Grindhouse not opting to finish the chase with rushes and instead just going to walk over and give Shadowhunter a big ol' smack with his cane. It's going to be 2 gens popping before Shadowhunter even reaches second stage, because I believe that Tyro got him off the hook before he hit second. This is a really great play from Shadowhunter here with that perfect time dead hard to extend the chase just a little bit longer and gave one of his teammates enough time to actually pop another generator before he went down again. So really, really good performance from Shadowhunter, and almost gets hit on Swing Blade, but ends up body blocking the window so that Swing Blade can't end up actually making it anywhere. I'm just gonna get the M1 tag instead. It's gonna find Georgie on the main building. Georgie's gonna take that vault and life the heck out of there. And we see here Grindhouse looking to get the hit onto Georgie, but Georgie evades at the last moment and causes Grindhouse to swing the opposite direction where he's actually going. A great juke by Georgie. Now the unhook is coming through onto Shadowhunter. Here we see Tyro looking to try and take a hit, but Grindhouse swerves around like he's got those like 2000s era fucking like Healy shoes on, and that's gonna be a pallet drop here for Shadowhunter. Very, very well played so far. It doesn't have the dead hard because of the endurance hit earlier, so we'll end up going down, but a lot of time bought before he went down. And yeah, that's gonna be 2 gens or 1 survivor. Now here we see 2 survivors of PSR looking to try and potentially finish the main building generator. Here's the Grindhouse getting hit with that blast mine. saving just a little bit of buying just a little extra time for PSR servers to run away. Knows that someone's nearby, goes for the rushes, and will end up finding Swing Blade on a pallet. And Swing Blade is going to drop the pallet and run away. Now, I think Grindhouse knows that the main building is pretty priority for PSR, as they know that it's one they have most progress on. These mind games on the 4-wall pallet, gonna swing through, but ends up getting the M1 hit, and instead is gonna opt for a normal power hit onto Swing Blade, not being able to reach the pallet in time and drop it. Swing Blade staying at this 4 lane, is gonna probably look to drop the pallet now, but no, doesn't have to the pallet immediately. It's gonna be an eruption onto the main generator on top of column right now. No one was on the gen at the moment, so no information gained. Very interesting stuff. Gonna be here. That's gonna be a hook onto Swing Blade, a fresh hook, and that's also gonna be another stack of Dying Light, but it's gonna end up finding Georgie all the way out here. But Georgie wanted to pop this generator in time probably, but just didn't have enough time to finish it. So another hook onto Georgie. Meanwhile, the unhook comes through onto Swing Blade. We can sense a shift and a momentum shift coming. PSR started this match off pretty strong, utilizing altruism to really allow Swing Blade to and allowing Shadow Hunter to last as long as he did. But now Grindhouse really is getting those fast downs that the Blight is really known for. And now the power is just swung back in favor of Vicinal here. Looking for the mind game on that main building window. Is gonna end up taking an M1 hit onto Swing Blade. He's gonna try and hit Tyro with a dash, but does not have enough reach. He's gonna opt to look for an M1 hit, but Tyro not only gets the pallet stun and then stacks the flashline on top of that, to try and disorientate Grindhouse a little bit, but ends up not being able to truly make it to the pallet in time and ends up taking a power hit. Grindhouse opting to go back towards the main building. Knows that 2 people work on this gen. PSR really want to pop this this main building generator. They have a lot of progress on it. They really want this to pop, but not only this, but also the pallet. Also the Swing Blade here sidestepping the dash in time to really auto-aim Grindhouse onto the pallet instead of the survivor, but Swing Blade's not going to be able to find anything else. He's going to take it down really early on. That's going to be, I believe that's a warning message for main building generator, informing Grindhouse that he doesn't have many, he only has like 3 kicks or something left on the main building gen. This is a pretty precarious spot for PSR. Finds Georgie, looks for the down onto Georgie, but Georgie movement is clean enough to where doesn't immediately takes it down, but Georgie is playing this 4 lane very well, but inevitably will end up going down. And that's going to swing, but yeah, momentum is completely shifted in favor of Vicinal now. PSR survivors are just not really being able to make, not being able to put as much of a dent in these gens that I think they really want to. That's gonna be maybe the gen once again, no longer regressing. They really want this gen. I feel like at some point you just gotta cut your losses and accept that you won't be able to pop a main building gen. It's just and try and look for a gen like somewhere else. See some progress on Grindhouse now knows all generators that have progress. I'm going to find Swing Blade by the edge of the buses. Continue chase here. Shouldn't last too long. It does have the bus's pallet to work with, but opts to not immediately go towards the pallet, and instead will eat it down for that. And that's going to be, I believe that's Swing Blade on Death Hook, so that's going to be down now 2 survivors for PSR. That's going to be 2 survivors down for PSR. Those stacks of Dying Light really building on the Tyro here. Yeah, the stacks of Dying Light are starting to. I think the Dying Light stacks are starting to eat away at PSR, because I think honestly, I think if Dying Light was in the mix, I feel like Georgie way early in this match would have been able to pop the gen over in that 5 corner if they didn't have Dying Light. But oh, finds another stun onto Bree0 here. Tyro then flash out again, but no distance really being made here, playing perfectly around these rocks, but will inevitably go down. That's going to be down onto onto Tyro. Gree0 here trying to hunt for more. He's trying to see if he can spot Georgie anywhere in particular. It's not going to find him instantly. Gonna patrol the tree generators that Gree0 knows for a fact that PSR are working on. Let's see. It's not gonna end up finding anyone. Still looking on the edge map. Georgie at this point could very well be stealthing towards Tyro's pickup, try and pick him up. Or Tyro could also be on UB. But it's not, instead it's just going to opt to pick up Tyro. That's going to be a hook on the Tyro. That's going to be all fresh hooks so far confirmed. They try and bounce around the map here, utilizing Blight's rushes to really cover a lot of distance to try and see if he spot Georgie anywhere, but I want to find Georgie, but we'll find a generator here with a suspicious amount of progress. It's going to be Tyro on the Deliverance here, which also probably signifies that Tyro is in fact the one on Breakable here. Gonna find scratch marks around the shack now. Doesn't know exactly who created them. They didn't really appear to go in any direction. They were trying to get at the corner of it. So who it was? It was in fact Georgie here. Now has to work with Shack, but without the pallet, that's way less safe against the Blight. And it looks like the down is pretty inevitable, especially if Gree0 allows the rush tokens to really build up again. Has to play around this filler tile, and says it can actually up to go a bit further out to try and see if he can catch Georgie, but had to try and glean some information on the main building, but will not. Instead, Georgie makes it back to Shack, but once again, no pallet here is a lot less safe. Gree0 just waiting for his rush tokens to stack up once again. All 5 are now here, going for the down on Georgie. That's going to be a down on to Georgie. And now Gree0 is hunting once again, looking for the man Tyro here. Tyro presumably just hopped on the generator immediately afterwards, and I think that if he was working on generator, like, we have very telltale sign as to where he is. He was in fact working on this 5-corner generator, but nowhere to be seen. So assume that Tyro is pretty stealth to leave the generator, and is potentially going to try and work his way back to the pickup on Georgie. This is still all under the assumption that Tyro is the one with Unbreakable, not anyone else. Let's see. We do in fact hear, I believe that Gree0 heard Tyro around there and knew where to rush, and that's going to be a down onto Tyro. Despite Ace being a quiet survivor, he's still not completely silent, so perceptive ears can still catch up on the injured grunts. And as soon as Gree0 refines Georgie, or wherever Georgie is, we can end this match. That's going to be a 4K3 result for Gree0. Really good start for PSR, but later on I feel like they just wasted too much time and too many resources and health states to try and get progress and pop that main building generator. I feel like they should have just cut their losses and try and look elsewhere for gens to do. But we'll see how Vicinal survivors do against PSR's Blight in game 2. So stick around. We'll be right back. Welcome back, Survivor and Killmains, all around to the second game of set 2 for PSR versus Vicinal. Here we have Disaster Rogue coming out for the side of PSR, trying to get a 4K4 is the win con that's hanging above his head, which is not great, all things considered. 4K4, while like still obtainable because this is a Blight set, anything could really happen. The S tier sets are kind of like that, but still 4K4 like on demand is quite a challenge. 4K3 as a Tycon is a lot more a lot more reasonable, but like I don't know, if Disaster Rogue just like locks in this match, I think we can get it. We see a very interesting purchase coming in for Enduring. Now, Enduring won't decrease the stun he gets after a fatigue, but it will reduce the duration of a stun he gets just after a normal pallet stun, which I don't know if that affects like breaking a pallet with power. I don't think it will. We're gonna find Chase onto G-Bot here on the left side of the map, and is gonna get some value from Enduring. Opting to not continue Chase here. You see, Ruin was cleansed very, very fast by the survivors of Vicinal here. So find Bronzy, working on main gen. Pallet gone from earlier, nothing to work with. Just gonna have to force to take the hit. It happens. We'll end up finding a pallet here, and it's gonna. It looks like that Vicinal are trying to set up a pallet save. Will anyone get it in time? The answer is yes. We hear the footsteps of an anonymous survivor running over, trying to get the save onto Bronzy. Bronzy working his best Shaq impression of that one image of Shaq hiding around a tree, and Rogue will eventually take the down onto Bronzy. So once again, not the quickest of downs that you really want if you're trying to beat a 4K4 win con, but honestly, it's not. I really don't mean to be a bit of a Debbie Downer, and it's still entirely possible. Blight is Blight. You see Rogue bouncing around a little bit, trying to look for some survivors. The only form of actual regression perks that he has remaining is Eruption. So we'll see how we catch a survivor on the TNL, and that's probably gonna be a hit. No, it is not. Disaster Rogue swung early, assuming that G-Bot would go for the window, but G-Bot goes wide instead, and will end up actually not getting hit as well. We see here Slash going for the unhook onto Bronzy, and here we see Bronzy trying his absolute best to duck and weave. We saw the Dead Hard coming out, but it doesn't matter that the Dead Hard was missed. Rogue's just gonna miss naturally. That's gonna be distance made for Bronzy, and a little bit of an ankle breaking of Rogue here. Bronzy's gonna drop the pallet, and it's just gonna take the down probably towards the corner here. Unless the Bronzy can play around this one window almost perfectly. Bronzy's pathing is insane. We see one gen pop already here. Bronzy with the absolute jiggy levels of pathing here, and that buys enough time for his team to pop 2 gens. So the win con is no longer obtainable for PSR. Now all that Disaster Rogue can really play for is a tie con of a 4K3 of their own. With not a lot of pressure to work with though. Like two gens pop, and your best like perk in terms of regression already being gone here with Ruin. You still have Eruption to work with, but Eruption requires these fast downs that unfortunately Rogue is not finding too often, but that doesn't matter. Slash Knight will instead accidentally vault into Rogue, and the Caster Curse strikes again. As I say, Rogue is not finding fast downs, he finds a fast down. I love my job. Rogue is going to try and slug a little bit to try and build up a little bit of pressure here. He knows that Slash is the one that went for the unhook onto Bronzy, which presumably makes him Deliverance, and will also presumably make him the Unbreakable. I believe that wasn't enough time for an Unbreakable though. I believe that was a teammate coming through on the unhook. Unless, yeah, that's a full reset onto Slash as well. That's just going to be Slash fully up and running again. So your Rogue trying to bounce between gens here, just trying to catch someone Got fast down on them, trying to get eruption value, but just not finding who he needs to find in this moment. You only have one survivor on Deathlook, and that is Bronzy. So if Bronzy's found, it could be a lot easier. As remember, it all fell apart for PSR last game. As soon as it was into 3v1 scenario. From that, you know, with 4 survivors up, it's easier to spread pressure amongst generators and spread attention. With 3 survivors, with the speed and efficiency of Blight it's a lot harder. Scratch one's thrown around the shack. Disaster Rogue bumping back and forth between the many obstacles to try and desperately look for this survivor, but not gonna find them, and just gonna have to bounce back to another generator. Look at his way back towards the top side. These survivors are doing a really good job at just pre-leaving. Like, they're just leaving gen early. Bronzy tries to become one with this stack of tires and almost succeeds, but the tires in the end reject his application. Better luck next time. And Bronzy wound up taking a hit. Now, as I said earlier, Bronzy is the survivor that is on Deathlook. And here's the Grindhouse with the metal chair. That's going to be another pallet save onto Bronzy. It's going to be an FTP too. So you can't even get the fast tunnel out. Bronzy's already hooked on it, and that's gonna be another generator popping for Vicinal survivors. So that is going to be the win for Vicinal here on the Blight on Blood Lodge. Phenomenal performance by Vicinal survivors here. Obviously, Bronzy, once again, his pathing is just absolutely just ankle breaking Rogue here. Rogue, I think, is caught on to where he is now. That's gonna be, again, endurance coming through here, but honestly, I don't know if the endurance pick was really worth it. Like, Disaster Rogue is spending less time being stunned by pallets, but he's not like really making up for it in any way. Like the less time spent being stunned by pallets isn't really resulting in like any faster downs. No way. That is going to be an absolute just ankle breaker from Bronzy here, and another pallet stun and another generator pops. Oh, this is all a disaster. It's a Disaster Rogue here. I guess it is in the namesake. A body block is even coming up, but it doesn't even matter. Disaster tries to swerve around the slash that came in for this hit, but wound up not even hitting either of them. Bronzy makes it to this jungle gym, but will eventually go down. And that's gonna be survivor, the first survivor dead, and only that one gen left. Now, at this point, Disaster's just playing this out because you know, it's good to play this out in the end. That's gonna be all generators popping for Vicinal. This was quite painful to watch if you're a diehard, you know, PSR fan, but the Vicinal survivor is just playing this absolutely perfectly here. We see chase onto G-Bot. G-Bot taking an M1 hit. Presumably that means that this gate is being worked on here. G-Bot with the firecracker of successfully getting the blind onto Rogue here. Now, the blind comes in from Rogue, but Slash still doesn't have enough distance to make it to the exit gate. Now, we see here that Grindhouse tried his best to save as much time as possible for G-Bot to potentially crawl out, but not enough in the end, and that's gonna be another hook and potentially a kill at the G-Bot, unless Slash really just doesn't want G-Bot in particular to die, or rather have himself die, but it doesn't matter who's dying, that's already decided. So that's gonna make Vicinal go one up in the set. As you remember, the first set of the series was a tie on the Executioner. So coming up next, so after this set, we have I believe it's going to be Artist on the Wrecker's Yard, with Vicinal, with I believe PSR coming first there. So don't go anywhere. We still gotta declare a winner for this set, so we'll be right back. Welcome back, Survivor and Killmates all around, to set 3 of PSR versus Vicinal. Here we have Georgie on the Artist for PSR. Now, Instead of the typical ARP, we are on Wrecker's Yard. So, just add-ons, pretty standard stuff, festering carry-on to make it harder for survivors to until like a little longer to remove birds, which could help in chase, and then severed hands as the infection unquote add-on, which will spread birds to survivors close to each other. Here we see Georgie mainly going towards the edge map of Sex to try and look for an out-of-place survivor, and ends up finding Zero. That's going to be a very early hit with the quote-unquote the shotgun aspect of the birds, which injure survivors near them. Gonna go for another bird here. Good prediction bird onto Zero. Zero looks like trying to avoid the trajectory of these birds, but is end up not going to down the pound again, which we know that from last set. The survivors of Vicinal have good ability to get these pallet saves. Here we see Slash. That's exactly what Slash is set up for right now. Trying to get the pallet save, but I think it's actually going to take an M1 hit. Yeah, it's going to end up taking a hit for it. Let me see. I think another server is going to end up picking up Zero. So no hook yet, but a ton of injuries that Georgie could potentially use. Going for the prediction hit onto Bronzy, but does end up overshooting or undershooting, I think, by a little bit, and will. So it's going to be Bronzy here doing his absolute best to last a little longer, but will end up not quite coming to fruition. That's going to be the first hook for Georgie. In terms of perks, we have Ruin, which is an absolute staple for artist sets. We have Pain Resonance, obviously, for gen regression, and then Agitation on records, so that you can confirm any hook. Pretty much, you can go to any hook spot on pretty much anywhere with Agitation, which how small this map is, really. You can see some hopping to a locker to try and avoid a second set of birds, to try and get rid of the birds off of them. Let's see here, Georgie just firing birds off. We see Slash close by, presumably the Deliverance player, just trying to pressure, going for the unhook to begin with. We see G-Bot over in the distance is just working on the generator, having to stop every once in a while because a flock of crows are being sent towards their immediate location. You can see here Gen pops finally, and then it also looks like that Bronzy is going to hit second unless Georgie can efficiently stop this, but it doesn't look like I know it's going for the last minute Paul. So he chased on the Zero, who was injured from before and was in fact actually down before getting picked up by Bronzy. And he's still injured, just injured working on this generator. Georgie really does not want anyone to get the unhook. I think he wants Bronzy to die on this hook, which makes sense. I think Georgie just wants to establish pressure onto the entering 3v1 as fast as possible. Attempts to go for a bit of a slingshot play, trying to just down Zero, getting on that generator, but doesn't quite get it. You see the unhook finally coming through. I see your Bronzy chase once again. The downside of trying to stay close to the hook and trying to confirm death as soon as possible is that if the hook does come through in the end, that's it's a lot of time wasted in the end. And that was just a lot of time for survivors to get gens done. So we fast down onto Bronzy, and unless Slash is waiting close by with like a flashlight or something. Okay, we're good. I thought I was gonna cast a curse out once again, but it doesn't look like the flashlight save is gonna come through, and that's just gonna be death onto Bronzy. 3 gens remaining. Pretty standard or honestly, might not even been standard pace. The Wrecker's Yard is not a map that I particularly see artists on a lot, but we'll see how Georgie works around this. Finds his chase onto G-Bot, and G-Bot doing a really good job of just chaining loops back and forth. As soon as a bird is dropped on the loop, G-Bot is instantly out of there. Slash Knight with the Sprint Burst. working on generator right next to the chase that was happening previously. Sprint burst is enough to get him over to this 4 lane. Volta instantly gonna go for the fake vault, but Georgie will not fall for it. Just get a free tag onto Slash Knight, and while this is all happening, someone actually went back towards that generator and popped it. Yeah, G-Bot popped a gen while Georgie was distracted by Slash. Gonna get the injure onto Gree here. Over in the distance, gonna injure with the birds. That's gonna be another hook. That's gonna be the second survivor hooked for Georgie. The pain res coming through. No, not a pain res actually. Opted not to use pain resistance token now. Most likely because I think Georgie realized that that gen was the highest pressure gen that they had, and so using a pain res now would have effectively been to waste. Now, when we enter this, excuse me, sorry. When we enter, there's one scenario. It's at this point where Ruin Risk starts to kick in. Well, obviously with less survivors on the board, that's less people available to do gens. So, anytime that a survivor needs to hop off a generator, Georgie hears the injured breathing, injured noises of Meg, and knows exactly that Slash Knight is there. Gonna take chase onto Slash Knight here, and Slash Knight doing a good job of pathing away from the birds, but it's gonna end up taking it down in the end. Still, so that's gonna be down onto Slash Knight, but I believe, actually, I don't think Slash Knight actually does have Deliverance, because I believe the last time that unhook went through was G-Bot that got it. So that's gonna be hook, that's going to be a pain res, and that's going to be an unhook onto Gree0, all in the background that is happening. See here, I think a skill check failed on this generator, possibly like a 7% chance of getting a skill check as you leave a gen, so just really unfortunate timing. Gonna use the bird's killer instinct abilities to hunt down Gree, and we know from earlier that there's no gen here, so Grease is opt for a locker pull to try and buy a little bit more time. That's gonna be the pain res finally being used, and in the background, G-Bot getting the unhook onto Slash Knight. 2 gens remaining with a survivor on the death hook. Let me see. Let's see here, Georgie trying to set up a bird towards the gen. Gonna try and slingshot these birds to try and injure someone as soon as someone like gets on that gen, but no one ends up actually near the gen, so the slingshot will not be loaded. Okay, try and Slash Knight is coming in for the unhook. I believe that Georgie is just gonna allow the 1-for-1 trade to happen. It does not end up actually getting the down onto Slash Knight, and Gree0 uses a bit of his endurance to try and body block that, but instead Georgie will just opt to switch to Gree0 instead. Now here's the thing, that we know that, yep, we know that Vicinal, we know specifically, Vicinal loves her palette plays, so Georgie had the awareness to prepare for that, but it ends up coming through in the end as well. Oh my god. Fantastic play from Slash to get the pallet save there. Let's get their teammate off the ground. That's actually really big for Vicinal. If the death came through for Gree0, I actually don't think Vicinal get any more gens. Georgie's gonna opt to just take chase onto G-Bot now, as I think Georgie wants to play for pain resonance, but is this really worth it? Like, the other 2 survivors could very easily just hop back on the gen that G-Bot was working on. They don't. I think Georgie read that they would probably just go for the safer play of going for the reset instead. The chase continues on to G-Bot here. G-Bot kind of stuck at a pretty bad position for to be against an artist, but not that bad if you have a teammate around that is willing to go for the pallet save. But Georgie reads that, and now he knows the positions. Everyone's positions are revealed. Gree0 here went potentially trying to go for the unhook. Loses 50-50 at loses the 50-50 at that TNL. And Georgie, now with 2 survivors slugged, knows that this generator over here is the most progress that they have on any generator. Here's Slash and working on the gen. I don't. Did Georgie hear that? I believe I heard a noise of a survivor working on that gen like right now, but I don't think Georgie might not have caught that. I think if they hit the moment, Georgie didn't caught him. He's gonna instead walking back and getting a hook onto Gree. He's gonna confirm the death onto Gree, and Gbot is now off the ground. Here, trying to look for both Slash and G at the same time. Gonna end up finding Slash. He's gonna end up getting the injury with the birds, and Slash has nowhere else to run, nowhere else to hide, and is just gonna end up taking a down near the edge of the map. And now it's just a game of whether or not Georgie can find Gbot. Okay, going back to this generator that has a ton of progress on it. No injured stains, which should potentially alert Georgie that no one is nearby. But you see the scratch marks here. We see Gbot booking it towards Slash's dead body, trying to pick them up. Yeah, we see that happening in action right now. Sees that Gbot is around the body. Here we see the severed hands add-on. Ooh, both survivors effectively dodging the birds, not giving Georgie the down. But Gbot ends up vaulting anyways, and that's going to be down with Gbot. And then Slash running away off into the night. See Georgie taking advantage of agitation to hook Gbot, and this is going to be the last pain res used. So even if Slash wanted to do the risky play of rushing back to Gen and trying to complete it, it is now both being regressed by both Ruin in that time and also pain res. So pretty tough spot. Honestly, I think at this point Vicinal should realize that this is most likely going to be 4K2 result. We see Georgie like on the edge of the map, trying to look for sign potentially. Gonna find things scratch marks of Slash. If you're not gonna hook on Gbot from Slash, it's a question of what these are going to do in this scenario. Goes for the just actually goes for the reset on the Gbot under the hook. Interesting. See here, gonna end up dropping chase and trying to look for Gbot's savior. Slash on the edge of the map with no power to work with. Take it down for Slash. Now I believe that I think that this one Georgie's just trying to look for Gbot anywhere you can. You leave Slash Knight on the ground. With with Unbreakable being a banned perk, doesn't look like we go for an Unbreakable play is not thing that can do. All that Gbot can really do is hide or try their best to try and get Slash off the ground, but it just this once again this is just a delay of the inevitable. Here, Gbot, pretty good pathing around the double window setup, but will eat a bird in the end, and doesn't look like they can avoid the birds. Yep, that's going to be a down. That's going to be a 4K2 result from Georgie on the Artist. Really good result. Well, once again, what I said with the Pyramid headset, though, it's not impossible to think that someone on a killer from Vicinal can match this result. Like it's not impossible to match or even beat this result. In the event that this series ends up being a tie, we will replay the Executioner set And if PSR wins the Executioner set, then we'll have to go back to the Artist set. But hopefully, we don't need to go that far. Maybe PSR can, or Vicinal can end this once and for all. But we'll be back in a bit to see Vicinal's killer play an Artist and to see if Vicinal can close this set out. Welcome back, Survivor and Killmains all around, to what is potentially the last game of the set. We have G-Bot coming in on the side of Vicinal to kill PSR's survivors. Now, a very similar build coming in for G-Bot. The only exception being we have crowd control on instead of whatever Rudy was running last time. So I could potentially catch someone off guard, especially like the first time when no one's like has seen it and like can call it out. We see here a chase onto Georgie, the last set's previous artist killer, and it looks like that Georgie does not have anything really to work with unless someone can able to set up a head-on on these lockers, but that's not going to end up happening, and the down is going to happen onto Georgie. Now, as a reminder, for G-Bot, the condition to win is a 4K3, condition to tie is a 4K2. So, lot on his shoulders right now. These are definitely 4K3 is on the realm of doable, but it's gonna have to put in a lot of elbow grease to really get it done. Let's see, cleanse on the ruin almost instantly, so ruin will not be in play. So gens will not be that passive regression. That's actually pretty big, honestly, especially with the set like Artist, where survivors will constantly get off of generators to try and dodge birds if they're working on it. Having ruin on to regress it just those tiny bits is pretty good. See, a gen already immediately popped for PSR here. G-Bot's gonna look for Swing Blade on this pallet here. Swing Blade goes wide to avoid the bird. G-Bot's not gonna really follow up on that. Oh, but gets a long-ranged injure onto Swing Blade. Utilizing the birds would be pretty good for him. Just setting birds, trying to get a little bit more information. Knows that there's someone here now because of the regression. We see here there's Tyro, and then we know Shadow Hunter is working over at this job. Gonna try and another long range hit and hits it. Man, G-Bot is very good with these long range hits. So if G-Bot stays close enough to this hook, then that really limits who from PSR can really come for the unhook, because assuming that G-Bot gets this close, we see unhook coming through, trying to look at the bottom of the truck to see who which direction Georgie will run into, and knows exactly what direction we're going. Georgie keeps going long to try and avoid a bird, but will inevitably be caught and downed by G-Bot here. Since we down onto Georgie, it's going to be death of Georgie at 4 gens. So if G-Bot really does, if G-Bot wants that 4K3 results, they're a pretty good spot to do so. Considering that Swing Blade and Shadow are still injured, it looks like PSR is looking to potentially either prioritize gens over healing, or not. But ooh, wait a minute. I think. Okay, I feel like G-Bot could have potentially found another survivor there, because I feel like if G-Bot was there and they were just recently healed, then that means that the reset was happening there. But Gen only away somewhere else will be popped, and so we see here if someone is actively working this gen, no one is actively working on it. This is a priority for G-Bot to defend, because this is probably the highest progress that PSR have on a gen, especially after a gen just popped. Let's see here. Shadow is staying injured, opting to stay injured instead of resetting with someone. And we have again an injury onto Swing Blade, going for a prediction, going for an information shot more than likely, but ends up actually tagging Swing Blade with a bird. We know where Swing Blade is right now. Reset coming on to Shadow. A very good, well-placed bird to really deter any options that Swing Blade has. And Swing Blade is going to take the down in this corner. That's me another pain res for Gbot here. And in the meantime, Reset comes out. No agitation, which is the part that was missing, that was on Jordy's build. So not going to be able to get this pain res as fast, but I believe the pain res will come through. Yep, it will come through before the generator can pop. And I think Gbot knows exactly what gen that hit. Sending some birds down the 6th direction to see if he can catch a survivor over here, stealthing for an unhook, potentially. Deciding to find anyone, knowing it alerted from the killer instinct. Just on the bird straight to where Gbot really knows where a survivor. Gbot pretty much knows that a survivor is probably working on this generator as it is PSR's highest generator progress. Yep, he was correct. So now he knows information on the location of everyone here. Gonna try and chase Tyro around the spot. Tyro trying to avoid the bird, but ends up getting an injure from the bird. Tyro is another survivor that is able to hit by pain resonance, so that's gonna be potentially another pain res going through on PSR's only gen. Yeah, this is most likely gonna be a very fast down into Tyro here, and another pain resonance hitting that gen. Meanwhile, Swingman and Shadowhunter resetting. Gbot is, I'd actually say, could pull off the 4K3 here with the pace that he's set now, because these downs are coming in quite fast here. What? Ooh, wait a minute, this generator has a lot of progress on it. That implies that potentially multiple survivors were working on this generator. Noise notification in the distance coming from someone trying to vault a pallet, potentially for the Lithe, and that's going to be a survivor disappearing from the thin air, but is refound once again. Unhook coming on to Tyro. Tyro and Swingblade both being surrounded by birds, and Gbot knows where everyone is because he knows that Shadowhunter in the meanwhile was on the edge of this map, but Shadowhunter's pathing is good enough to where Shadowhunter can make it to somewhere else now. Something pretty important. I believe Shadowhunter is the last survivor that can be hit that is pain resible. That can give Gbot a target. Goes for the medium vault, and Gbot hits him straight through it. Swing Blade here, sending out a bird onto that generator. Tyro dodges the bird in time. Cannot finish the generator when the birds are swarming Tyro, and Tyro will go down. But I think someone else might have ran meaning towards the generator. This generator is so close to popping, but stopped in the last second. What? You look at that. That means that there's only a few regressions left on this gen possible. So if PSR plays this slowly enough, I actually think that they can be able to pop this gen and force another tie in the set. Let's see here, Gbot going far and wide. Gbot swinging randomly. Swingblade is forced to play this only. Swingblade pretty much only has this pallet to work with. Gonna have to go away from the pallet, and that's be another gem popping. That's the best that Vicinal can now hope for is a tie, but Gbot this series no longer winnable. Series no longer winnable for Vicinal, and now only tieable here for Gbot. We still have a survivor down on the floor in terms of Tyro. It's gonna go for the hook onto Swingblade here. It's gonna end up picking Tyro. In the end, he's gonna place Tyro onto the hook. That's gonna be two survivors, both on their death hooks here. And then we see Shadowhunter has a pretty daunting task ahead of him, having to choose either survivor and not being to unhook, and not being caught out either by the birds killing instincts. Gbot immediately goes to this area, thinking that Shadowhunter would come from his direction, and his intuition was correct, but fortunately his timing was not. Gonna set up a bird ahead of time if potentially anyone wants to run into that, gets the free hit tag onto Shadow Hunter, and it looks like Spoonboy is going to go for. So I just keep running away. So this is a very interesting scenario that PSR are in, because both Shadowhunter and Simulator are injured and they don't have enough time to reset each other. So it looks like Tyro's just going to end up dying on this hook. Doesn't look like they can really get the unhook in time. Yeah, you know what? Tyro would die. So they're going to enter this crucial part of the match in a 2v1. It is imperative that PSR pop one more gen for the win. The early pre-drop of a pallet by Swing Blade. That's going to be an injured with the bird. Swing Blade goes down. She bought hunting for Shadow Hunter here. Gonna find Shadow Hunter by the edge of this generator. This generator over at 1. And it's so much progress on it. Was so close to being popped numerous times, but was stopped at the last second. Looks like Shadow Hunter's opting to. Shadow Hunter really wants to avoid the bird, but will not avoid it in the end. This will be a down onto Shadow Hunter. And it looks like we have a tie on the artist set. So, the way we deal with this is that we are going to have to replay the first set, which was Executioner, on the same map record yard, and it will be PSR once again killing again. So right now the score is still 1-0 because you only get a point if you actually end up winning the set. Ties don't account for any points. So Vicinal are still only up 1-0. So Vicinal win the Executioner set, done deal. They win the set and eliminate PSR. But if PSR end up winning the rematch of the Executioner set, like I said earlier, we're gonna have to replay Artist. This is potentially a very long set, ladies and gentlemen. So stick around. We still got a bit of Dead by Daylight that needs to be played. Welcome back, ladies, gentlemen, Killer Mains, Survivor Mains. Yeah, you get the idea. We are replaying the first set, the Executioner set, and here we have actually G-Bot coming from Vicinal, killing first, running a once again standard build, opting instead for the double range, which I believe G-Bot ran the last time. So we know that both G-Bot and Georgie are very easily matched on the Pyramid Head setup, as we know that, well, they did tie each other's results after all. So we'll see if one Pyramid Head can outdo the other Pyramid Head in terms of being the Pyramidier head. Yep. G-Bot is trying to look for survivors in order that he can. Finds one survivor, finds Pi here on working a bus's pallet. Working on the bus's generator is going to opt to try and avoid the M2 here, but will not. I believe double range helped a little bit there. You know, maybe getting a more comfortable hit there. Gonna look for prediction in onto Pi and gets the hit on Pi. They are very early down to start this game. So we see not a lot to work with so far. In order for last time there was the result that was achieved by both Pyramid Heads were 4K 2. So if either Pyramid Head wants to either outpace that result, they'll need to work a little harder, or honestly it could also come down to the survivors of either side either playing out of their minds or screwing up immensely to change the result of the set. The way that Pi is hooked, it's in one of the corners of the map, one of like the two outer sort of pockets of Records Direct. Here we see a chase coming out to Tyro. Tyro feeling he knows where G-Bot's gonna end up shooting that thing, and is just going to sidestep at the last second and avoid it. G-Bot is going to come back to Pi's hook, trying to see if he can cut off anyone potentially going for the save. Will not end up seeing anyone. It's not look like anyone's going to go for the save on Pi. It looks like Pi is going to, in fact, hit second stage, and that's exactly what happens. Pi is now on his second stage of struggling on the hook. See here Tyro once again taking chase, and ooh, takes chase directly towards the generator of Swing Blade 7. Swing Blade cannot dodge the blade and will in fact take a hit. And does not end up killing. Does not try. Gbot does not opt for the blade on blade violence action, and will instead go back to the unhook. Going to get the M2 hit onto Pi, and Tyro tries to delay the inevitable here with a bit of a flash light, but one of just going down in the meantime. And now Gbot is on the hunt once again, looking for Pi, looking for a kill here to start things off. Initiate us into that 3v1 phase, but Gbot making a lot of distance. I think that down onto Tyro actually did get Pi a fair bit of distance. Gonna be on this pallet here, and Pi unfortunately does not. And Gbot, the way he positioned his body, position it just so that Pi cannot reach the pallet in time. And we see Swingblade trying to give Gbot a taste of their own medicine, trying to get a pallet save against him, but it's not successful in the end. Pick up on the Tyro comes through. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have entered the 3v1 phase. Here will things get dicey. This is where is at this point now where the result of the match becomes more apparent as to whether or not PSR, whether or not Gbot can match his performance last time, or maybe even surpass it. We see here we find the recently picked up Tyro not given enough time to reset, and it'll instead fall to an M1 strike from Gbot. So we pick up on the Tyro, and it's going to be a pain resonance hook coming through. Damage comes through, but at the same time, Ruin is gone. Like I said earlier, in a 3v1 scenario, you really don't want to deal with Ruin, so it's good to get out of here. Let's see Scratchbox over towards the truck, which is going to indicate the position of Swing Blade 7. Once again, Swing Blade may swing the blade, but Gbot swings the bigger blade and will get the down onto Swing Blade 7. Not only is that that's going to be another fresh hook for Gbot, and it's going to be another pain resonance on a generator that I'm honestly not sure if the survivors of PSR even have a generator with that much progress on it. I mean, they do have generator over at truck. Other than that, it feels like survivors of PSR have just sort of been running around. So you're going back to the unhook area, try and potentially catch someone off guard, and we will now find Georgie here. I mean Tyro. The length that this particular match has gone on for is trying to take its toll on me, but I will persevere until the very end. We see Georgie here getting the unhook onto Swingblade. Swingblade has this jungle gym to work with. Ooh, fakes one direction to try and dodge the M2. It does, but once again, Gbot is positioning himself perfectly to prevent these survivors from reaching the pallet before to try and stun him with the pallet or try and drop it. Like, these survivors keep trying to double back and drop these pallets onto Gbot, but Gbot's having none of that. See here, I think Gbot's looking for survivors somewhere. I think, yes, Gbot, I think, heard the breathing of Georgie when he was nearby, so he knew that someone was there, and you're gonna find Georgie, and Georgie's not gonna opt to pull off the hook because it'd be too risky in the scenario and wouldn't end up really getting Swingblade anywhere. So it's gonna opt to leave Georgie behind. It's gonna go past Georgie, even go straight to this gen over here in the corner that has a lot of progress on it, and it has a lot of progress because there is an ace Visconti named Tyro working on it. We'll see here, M2 fake once again positioning himself absolutely perfectly. Gbot has an amazing understanding of how to use the Pyramid Head's power. In the end, he may honestly end up being the pure mid-year head of the two, but we'll see later on. Chase continues as Tyro's gonna opt to go underneath the pallet, but it doesn't look like anyone's actually nearby for it, because I believe we saw a reset onto Swingblade during that chase. So I think yeah, G-Bot just knows that he's perfectly in the clear to go for the hook. So 4-3 is what it's looking like right now, unless the survivors of PSR can script the other one more gen. We know that someone was working on a while ago. Someone was working on the gen of a truck, so they could have hopped back onto that gen. G-Bot preferring to stay close to this area right now to try and defend both the generator and the unhook onto Tyro. He really wants to get that 2v. He really wants to get another survivor off the board. See here, just waiting his time, trying to look towards the edges of the map to see if anyone is close by, but will not find anyone. It looks like PSR opting to, I think the PSR opting to let their captain sync with the ship and just opting to let Tyro die. That means that there's definitely a lot of progress on generator somewhere else on the map, and yes, there is another generator pops by the truck. And G-Bot sees Swingblade and is gonna opt to not swing the blade onto him. He's gonna walk towards the buses to see if he can catch another survivor working on the generator. If he can't, then I presume this probably indicates that the generator was doubled, but no, we find Georgie here by 3. He's gonna try and salvage. I think Georgie was trying to salvage whatever progress they still had remaining on this gen, but it has been regressing for a while. It's gonna be chase onto Georgie. Georgie not caught in the animation of dropping a pallet, making the M2 very easy to hit for G-Bot. Gonna try and leave. Yeah, Georgie's gonna greed the pallet, and it's gonna result in a down and an interruption too. Instantly pick up Georgie, not fearing any sort of high. I could end up and Georgie, come on. He's gonna not be afraid of any pallet stun while picking up Georgie, and it's gonna be another pain res on a generator that at this point should not have much progress on it. G-Bot's gonna go on top of this hill, trying to look for Swingblade, trying to swing the blade down on him one more time, but will not end up finding him before he can reach his teammate. Okay, see here, around the 9 side here, gonna try and play around this TNL. Wins 50-50 at the TNL, will drag his sword throughout, and will end up getting a hit onto Swingblade. Trying to look for another, trying to swing the blade once more, but Swingblade 7 does not fall to the blade itself, and it's looking like the chase will be dropped. I think, yeah, G-Bot knows exactly where Georgie's going to be. Georgie really wants to get this generator done. That's going to be another down onto Georgie, and I think this will most likely be a 4K2 for G-Bot, exact same result as earlier. So if nothing else, at least it's consistent. See here, G-Bot just trying desperately to look around the edges of the map, trying to find Swingblade, but will not be able to swing the blade this time. Just looking around. It's not gonna find Swingblade anywhere. Knows where Georgie's body is, and if G-Bot really wants to end this, since Georgie is since Georgie is in fact tormented, he can just send Georgie to a cage, and this will most likely be Georgie will opt to die in this cage, and will give Swingblade adrenaline once again, which is the exact same play that they did earlier. This time we'll see if Swing Blade is able to get the gates open. This time Gbot has a hill to stand on, so he has perfect line of sight of both gates. This does not look escapable for Swing Blade here. Yep, can immediately see Swing Blade get on that gate. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, looks like we're going to go the distance. Wait, hold on. Oh, range not enough. Wait, Swing Blade's gonna get out. Oh, I did not realize. I think Swing Blade got on the gate almost instantly. I thought that Gbot had time to stop it, but no, that's gonna be an out for set of PSR. That could amount to. That could actually turn things in favor of PSR here. We'll see what happens next game coming up. I'm not saying the intro for the 9th or whatever time it is today. All right, we have Georgie on the pyramid head for the side of PSR here. So, as I've discussed with some members of staff beforehand, if Vicinal managed to pop 4 generators, that is the win for Vicinal and PSR eliminated from this tournament. If, however, Georgie 4Ks, then we have to replay the Artist set. Now here we see Gray with the Lithe, doing a really good job at dodging Georgie's M2 strike. We're just gonna end up just gonna break the pile and leave because he hears some progress on the Shack gen. He knows that someone is here. Oh, that's gonna be a stun. Gray 0. Something that the PSR survivors were trying so desperately to try and do last set was done very easily by Gray 0 here. Let's say Ruin affecting a generator over here as well. Going back, chase back onto Gray. Gray's going to end up getting hit by the M2. Gray is caught on, honestly, not the worst setup to be on against Pyramid Head. But, Georgie trying to go through the protection hit with the M2 and will not end up hitting it. And will set us off for an M1 onto Gray. First down of the match. Painter has come through and get information on the survivor bringing in a generator. There. Georgie is going to just patrol the bottom area as this is presumably where the highest progress gens would be, and he's absolutely correct. That also means that also gives up an immediate unhook onto onto Gray here. Bronson gonna get hit, but I think Georgie. Ooh, 2 fantastic hits from Georgie, getting a really fast down onto Bronzy. I think Georgie realizes that because of what I mentioned previously, because of how important it is to actually pop gens for the set, I think Georgie knows that the survivors of Vicinal are going to prioritize generators above anything else. So interrupting gens before they're done and is going to be very important for this set here. I was going to assume that someone is still nearby, and he is absolutely correct. Going to find Gray once again, and one hit straight onto Gray. Gray taking chase back to the truck here. We get an unhook onto Bronzy while this is happening, and at this point, I feel like Vicinal survivors are in fact going to do. I think Vicinal survivors know that how important the gens are, and I think as soon as that reset happens, I think they're just gonna instantly call for get on generators as fast as they can. It looks like something is happening over here. I'm not sure. This is a very interesting ritual of sorts. I think we walked onto something a little too intimate. Whatever's going on this truck, it's ended now, and Gray gets hit. That's going to be Gray on their second stage here. That did buy a lot of time for Vicinal survivors to work on gens, though. Whatever was happening there, and we see here we find slash stealth onto a pallet. I think Georgie knew that someone was going to be around here, considering that he saw the generator had progress on it, but no one was nearby, indicating a nearby survivor. Gets a hit onto Slash using the M2, and it looks like Slash is gonna opt to run back towards the generator. A fantastic prediction hit coming once again. Georgie is doing Georgie, I think should honestly just quit Debatele. I think he has a profession. I think he has a good opportunity if he switches to, I don't know, something like that, like a Valorant, like maybe Georgie could help. Maybe something like C9 probably needs a new player or something. But just how accurate he is right now. He's gonna camp Gray out to death, making sure that no one can get the last minute save here. Now, if you notice in the bottom left, there's 3 generators remaining. So far, 2 generators have been popped. So we're on track for a 4K2, but for Vicinal, a 4K2 is not good enough. For Vicinal, they do not want a 4K2. They really need one more generator at minimum to pop to end this once and for all. Now, me personally, I'm prepared to stay here for as long as it takes. Not a lot of people know this, but I actually have a PhD in Yaponomics, and I actually teach a course about professionally hating on nugs. So I'm here to talk all night, but I don't think the survivors. I think Elizabeth, the players themselves, might be feeling a little fatigued after the all this Dead by Daylight playing here. Drew's gonna opt to scan the area nearby, try and look for survivors. That's gonna be ruin it down, but that also brings Eruption back into the mix, and all the while, Slash gets unhooked and even reset directly under the hook, which is a little risky to do. Essentially, since with a killer like Pyramid Head, if you catch 2 survivors in a scenario where they are caught in a fixed pattern, that's 2 hits. Ooh, Georgie tries to drag the blade a little bit around to try and hit Gree, but it's going to be unsuccessful. Let's see here. Just gotta see the scratch marks of survivor heading towards this pallet. A very, very early pre-drop from Slash, and it'll still result in a hit. Georgie's really good at getting these hits through objects, around corners, and just overall having good aim and protection. Here we see Georgie knows that someone's nearby, saw the scratch marks, and is opting to try and look for survivor here. But we'll end up finding someone, and will in fact start the chase again onto Bronzy by these buses. Bronzy gonna end up running away. This is mostly going to be a balanced landing coming in play, trying to get a little bit of distance. It is buying a little bit of distance in time, but it's also going to find Gray, just kind of casually taking a stroll nearby. Gray, this isn't a friendly neighborhood. This is a chase against a Pyramid Head happening. Bronzy's going to end up taking it down underneath the pallet. Now, you can't avoid a save. One of Pyramid Head's strengths is that he kind of counters player altruism. If survivors want to try and get any pallet saves or flashlight saves, he can simply just send them to a cage and avoid having to pick up animation in general. Ooh, that generator was so close to popping. They were so close to finishing this match, but Slash instead opts to just leave. That chase is gonna be very important. I think Slash and Vicinal realizes that generator is very, very close to popping. Gonna go for the pickup onto Slash here. We're cutting it very close. That generator is on the verge of popping. Look at how much progress that generator has. If that generator pops, then we can all go home. The job is done. We can all go home. But if that generator stays and none another gen pops, we're in it for a long night. Georgie finds Greek Zero, who's stealth nearby. I think he was trying to get the gen. That's gonna be a double hit right under the hook. That's gonna be a hook, and I believe that no one has brought themselves upon to work on this generator, and that's gonna be a pain res on this generator. Here, actually, no, wait, that wasn't a pain res on this generator. That's a pain res on the generator somewhere else. So they have 2 very high progress gens. If Georgie lets either of those high progress generators pop, this is game over for PSR. That's gonna be the end of PSR's run to the Grindhouse Massacre games, he knows where both generators of insanely high progress are. If either of these generators can pop, that is going to be the win for Vicinal. Okay, that is the unhook on Grease Zero. I believe that at this point, that's most likely going to be Slash and Grease Zero opting to double that generator. We'll see if this bronze hook is a pain resistant. Actually, no. A reset comes through. And they opt for a reset. And Bronzy's in Bronzy's dying last breath, Georgie uses it to get a pain resistance off. Still very high progress on this gen. It's all coming down to the wire now. If Grease Zero can buy enough time for Slash to pop a gen here, then that's gonna be the win for Vicinal. But it'll take a task. Georgie is very good at what he does. Able to lands the prediction hit, a very long range hit onto Grease Zero. Now he's booking it, he's chunking his way, he's sliding his sword through the ground, booking it all the way over to this generator to prevent it from popping. Can he do it? Ooh, Slash avoids it, but won't finish it in time. Oh, the generator so close. Slash even avoiding an M2. Slash even avoided an M2 to try and buy more time, but it wasn't enough. Oh, that is brutal. And Georgie, I think Georgie knows that the job's done. That is going to be PSR taking the Executioner rematch. Now the series is tied 1-1. That feels absurd to be saying when we're 3 hours in, but now we're finally 1-1. Now we have to replay the Artist set, and we'll see if either Vicinal or PSR come out top. If they tie the set for the second time in a row, I might commit illegal acts. I'm not gonna lie, I'm very tempted, but I'm gonna be here for all of it. So stick around. Job is not done. We still have more to do. All right, this is what, like game 9 at this point? Yeah. Okay, so this is game 9 of PSR versus Vicinal. Here we have Georgie coming back onto the killer, playing Artist for the side of PSR. Same build, same add-ons as last time. So there's a lot more writing on this set. If either team wins this set, then they take the whole thing and eliminate the other team out of the tournament. We see an early start here. Chase onto Gray. Almost tags Gray with a bird, but just barely. We see that with the Killer Instinct prop coming up. Gray taking the opportunity to just leave the loop as soon as you can. Gonna take a bird, but thanks to Fast and Carrion, Georgie's birds are back online very, very fast. Another cool thing about Georgie, another cool thing about Gray, though, is that he has a fun bus setup, but takes an injury directly from the bird itself. And does not look like that Georgie wants to continue chase onto Gray. I'm gonna leave Gray. Head over to a gen over here by the 4 area. Trying to chase the server off, letting Ruin do its thing. It's gonna tag a survivor working on. Ooh, Gray was working on Georgie's Ruin. While this was happening, Ruin is now out of the equation. That could be an important factor for determining on who wins this set overall. Now Gray is caught on a pretty awkward pallet. It's gonna do the Dead by Daylight player mating gesture of the 2-button come here, indicating that Gray wants someone to come over to where he is, and it works. Slash to the rescue, getting Gray off the ground and back up, but unfortunately Gray's gonna be back on that ground almost as fast as he was picked up. Gonna keep sliding out to find Slash, just kind of just chilling in the corner. Slash thought that he was stealthy enough to just hide, you know, to just like crouch right before a window. I think the fatigue is starting to get not only to me but also to the players. I think we should all like collectively be a part of a case study on what happens when you play Dead by Daylight for too much. We should definitely you know, be a bit of a case study. But we see here, we see Bird onto Bronzy. That's going to be a tag onto Bronzy as well. Unhook coming off for Gray. Georgie's going to barrel it back towards the unhook like a good little comp killer he is. So you're fine, slash. And he's going to opt to commit to slash here. Knows that he's injured. He's actually not going to commit to slash. No, he has a different target. He has a better target. He wants to Gray. Gray is going to sidestep a little bit to avoid the birds, but it's going to actually gets the fast vault in time. It's not going to die to the birds yet. Gray's going to opt to vault the pallet again. Gray's a really strong setup here, but I don't think he makes it to pallet in time. No, but he makes it to the window in time. Takes the window fast vault. Now he is caught up with birds. Can he dodge the birds? No, he cannot. That's gonna be another gen popped. There's gonna be 2 gens popped, and now Gray's going to hit his second stage here with 2 injures on both Slash and Bronzy. See here, Georgie's gonna send the bird off into the distance to try and potentially catch someone on a generator. He finds someone. Oh, he finds Bronzy and Slash. Slash is already healed, but Bronzy is not in the same scenario. But he's gonna opt to leave Bronzy to his own device and gonna try and get onto Slash before the unhook happens, but cannot get there. Now, Gray off the rip. Gray off the rip, more like Gray off the hook. Okay, I think I'm gonna get fired for that one. This might be my last time casting ever after saying that, but Gray is going to live on the shack and is going to continue this chase here. Georgie, ooh, misses the M1, barely enough time. I actually think that Gray still makes it to the fast fall. It's going to dodge the bird. Gray is doing a phenomenal job right now. Another gen popped immediately after he got off the hook. This is really good for Vicinal. Gray is just doing a phenomenal job of staying alive and is not letting Georgie really get enough pressure. Ooh, we see here back on the pallet. Does Georgie think that there's someone nearby, or you think that Gray is just bluffing? Gray was not bluffing. Bronzy, or no, that was Gray Zero again with another pallet save. This is insane. Another pallet save coming through. Gray's just in forever. Dude, the other survivors nearby, they're taking birds. They're eating birds. They're making sure that Gray does not need to deal with birds during this chase. This is insane. Gray has an absolutely killer lineup here, but goes for the medium vault on the window and is now down. Let's see here. Slash really wants that flashlight save. He wants to use the beamer. But no, Georgie turns away, and that's gonna be not a beamer. But that is a lot of time for 3 gens for 1 survivor dead. We are at 2 gens remaining, and during that entire time, there's could have been progress on another gen. Like, this is pretty crazy stuff. And in fact, there was another gen pops. 1 gen remaining, all survivors alive, no other hooks except for the ones on to Gray. Now that can work out in favor of Georgie, actually, because now if he gets a if he manages to get the down onto Gray Zero here, he's gonna have a pain resonance hook to work with to cut off any pressure that survivors could potentially be working with. Ooh, fakes the double back and just swings to the pallet, catching Gray Zero off guard, and that's going to be a down onto Gray Zero. Now Gray Zero under the pallet. I think Georgie at this point has a bit of a pallet save PTSD. Should be checked out by a doctor. It's gonna find Bronzy near this truck while keeping Gray Zero on the ground. That's gonna be a free M1 tag onto Bronzy here, and if Gray Zero still on the ground, either you have to wonder if either someone is near for the pallet save. Okay, no more pallet saves. No more. No more pallet saves. Just straight up hooks. It's gonna be pain resonance. That's gonna hit whatever gen that Slash now is working on. I think we could hear the scream of a Meg in the distance. We'll cut off whatever generator that Slash was working on. We see here Georgie sending a couple birds, try and catch someone. In case you're unaware as to why Georgie's not getting any killer instinct procs from these birds, is going to find Bronzy. Right, in case you were curious, if you crouch when a bird comes near you, actually won't give the killer player killer instinct. So that's most likely what's happening here. And I'm assuming this is the gen that is being worked on, and yes, it is. We can hear the progress of this gen from all the way over here. Down onto Bronzy, and I think Georgie is going to opt to go over and pick up Bronzy to try and get another pain res on the board, and just another hook in general. We see Slash Knight has gone for the unhook onto Crew Zero. Now we see hook on the Bronzy. The pain res is damage to generator. I believe the highest gen progress we saw was that gen over by 3. And we see scratch marks of survivors nearby, probably assuming it's going to be either Gree or Slash, and it's going to be Slash running deeper into 3. Could potentially be Gree coming in for the unhook. No, it does not look like Gree is going to be coming in for the unhook. Never mind. I don't think you guys actually knew this, but the top of hills are actually the natural habitat for a group of players called the Bounce Landing players. That is their natural habitat. If you want to look for a bounce landing player, find your nearest hill, and you'll most likely find one just perched on top of it, waiting for their opportunity. Gree gets hit and opts to not trade instead, and rather will just run away. And this will most likely result in now. I think what this is forcing Georgie's attention between two separate places. If he goes too far away from this hook, then that will give Gree a free unhook. Like, despite being injured and everything, if Georgie runs away, it gives him the distance, then Gree can still get this. But no, Gree oversteps his boundary a little bit. But Georgie mistakes Gree for a pair of tires. That we really need to check on, the mental state of everyone now. Georgie confusing a player for a stack of tires. I think this is a borderline, unhealthy territory. But in terms of what Dead by Daylight does to a individual's brain, but unhook coming through onto Bronzy, and second one is not going to get any value really. It's going to heal Bronzy, like it's going to get rid of like his mending stat, but it's actually, I think, I think I just learned something. I think I just learned that if you mend someone before the second win timer is over, it will heal them from injured to healthy. I think I just learned that. I learn something every day. But chase happening onto Slash Knight by the double buses. Gonna have the fun bus setup. Gonna take the vault and gonna take a bird to the face. A swarm of birds. Georgie is going to leave this chase and go back. He's going to use his intuition, and he's gonna probably think that there's someone working on Gen over here. We see not a lot of progress there. There might find progress on this general at 3 that we knew that Slash was working on during that whole Gree Zero Bronzy debacle on the hook, and that is correct. Slash has returned back to his place. That is a great hit with the bird, utilizing the bird to Georgie's advantage to get the first initial hit. Slash is going to bring us back to the fun bus, and it's going to end up being it down onto Slash, and I don't think that anyone would be nearby for the pallet save. I think that would just be wasting time at that point. And that's going to gen. That is going to be a gen before the pain resistance comes through. Just one, like half a second earlier, and that gen would not pop, but the gen pops. And now we're in the end game. That's going to hit onto Gree Zero. This could actually potentially be outs for the side of Vicinal if Bronzy is like on a generator. If Bronzy is on a hook, like if Bronzy is, oh my god, I cannot speak today. I'm getting the case of the Dead by Daylight brain rot too. But if Bronzy is just working on a get to which we see in the background, that's going to be an out for Vicinal. That's gonna be Bronzy potentially. Yeah, that's gonna be Bronzy getting out. So that's gonna be a 3K and like a handful of stages. That is actually a very good performance from Vicinal. They did an amazing job in the initial Gray being tunneled out of not only Gray just doing a great job keeping up in chase and staying alive as long as he can, but the Vicinal survivors were providing Gray with like the support needed, like in the pallet saves and stuff, for him to like last that long, and it just cascades into this beautiful snowball of Vicinal getting actually someone out. Now that's only going to result in a 3k11. That's going to result in a 3k11 with all generators popped. So now the condition for Vicinal winning the set is their killer needs to 4k. Or I think that their killer needs to like get 2 kills, I believe. But we'll see how it all plays out. We got one more set left, folks. I know it's been a long night. Just stick around for just a little longer. Welcome back, Survivor and Killer Mains all around to what is I'm crossing my fingers and I'm praying to whatever god you choose to believe in that this is the last game of the night. We have G-Bot coming up for the side of Vicinal, killing PSR survivors. Now, G-Bot, all that he needs to do to secure this victory for his team is a 4k. Anything less than that, PSR will move on instead. So we'll see. Get an early chase onto Georgie here. Georgie pathing the birds away. Gonna go from one double window setup to another double window straight into buses. In the meantime, G-Bot's gonna send some birds out somewhere else to try and see if we can gain a bit more information. Georgie has a pretty strong setup here. Get the pallet and the window can get to each other. He's gonna vault the window and is going to take it towards this filler pallet here. Is gonna keep just chaining it all together to delay the hit as much as possible, but the hit will come through in the end. Georgie here was, is the person playing artist on the side of PSR, wants a little bit of vengeance for his own performance, see if he can outdo the artist playing around this pallet, and in the end will opt to die on the pallet. We'll see. Well, is someone else on PSR ready for it? We hear footsteps behind, but it won't happen. No, Swing Blade cannot swing the pallet down fast. Cannot swing the pallet down onto the artist's face to save his teammates from the killer's grasp. And will instead now be the next person being chased here. It's going to be zoning by the crows. And it's going to be a hit. Just a normal M1 coming through onto Swing Blade. If that pallet stun went through, it honestly would have been really good. But realistically, Georgie doesn't have a lot of stuff around him to use, but still, like, just any seconds count if 4k is what G-Bot needs to play for. We see one generator has popped. We see here G-Bot's just gonna stay around this hook, and I think strategy here is considering that it's just a 4k, no like gen requirement. I think G-Bot really wants to whittle the servers down by he really wants to get one person out of the game and force us into a 3v1. Here we see Tyro coming in, trying to save his teammate off the hook, and does do it before second stage. Instead, not even gonna get the down on Tyro. Instead, he's gonna get another hit onto Georgie, actually, which means that his perk Forced Hesitation actually doesn't come into play. I think I probably would have just kept trying to actually go for a swing onto Tyro again to get Forced Hesitation in play and make Georgie like almost unable to escape. But I guess he's gonna opt for a Pain Res instead onto Tyro here. No idea where Georgie is, but an idea where Shadow Hunter is. Shadow Hunter as a hunter of shadows, but he does not stay in the shadows. He's instead gonna be found. Oh, speaking of being found, we find Georgie fresh off of the hook and back down onto the ground as well. There's gonna be a hook onto Georgie, so that's gonna be Georgie on the death hook, and Tyro just getting freshly healed up here. The hook onto Georgie. I'll see. The pay immediately, unless some miracles happen, I actually think that by the pace of the setup, the pace of this matchup is gonna probably end up resulting in a 4K for Vicinal. Like just the way that this set is playing out now. Like you already have a survivor that's on death hook, and with only one gen that's popped. Whereas by the time that by the time that Georgie killed Gray in the last set. There was only like 2 gens left, so if PSR really want to, you know, clutch this out, then they gotta get their get the game up a little bit. Georgie is gonna have to force to play around this palette here. It's gonna end up odd pathing a little bit, and gonna end up taking the window here. Just gonna keep pathing around. And it's going to, we see here Shadowhunter emerging from the shadows to give his teammate a little bit of reprieve here. Gonna end up eating a direct bird, but that doesn't make a lot of distance. That doesn't, shooting the birds just themselves does not gain enough distance for Georgie to get away, and then mistimed firecracker, and that is going to be the end of Georgie. Not of it. Nope. I'm gonna refrain myself. Was here, but a gen does pop in the end, but 2 injured survivors. We've seen this exact scenario a lot of time today, and we know how all of those previous scenarios have ended. Roughly a 4K2. It's looking that way right now for PSR. It's not looking great if you're a diehard PSR fan. If you're a Vicinal fan, then you're just jumping with joy right now. Zero, he's gonna Gmod's gonna find the reset, and that's most likely, yeah, it's gonna be down onto Swingblade 7, not being able to swing his way out of the birds in time. That's gonna be a down for Swingblade, and I believe that's also gonna be a pain resonance, if I'm not mistaken. So it's gonna chew away at any potential. Yeah, that's gonna chew away at any potential progress that PSR have built up here. This is not looking good for PSR right now. They don't have a lot of progress on gens, and they're being found, and these chases aren't lasting long enough to really build back up that pressure of gens. So we'll see if PSR and the gang can pull something out of the hat, but it look like a Tyro here caught on that gen, off to hop in a locker to get rid of this generator. This exact scenario has happened before. Gbot is instead of playing Dead by Daylight, he turned off the game and is now playing Five Nights at Freddy's, the way he's just flicking back and forth between like these 2 monitors, trying to get an eye on both Shadowhunter going for the unhook, and as well as shooting birds in the direction of Tyro to delay the progress of that generator. We see here, we've returned back to the normal. We are no longer playing FNAF. Now we're back onto honest Dead by Daylight here. And we see chase onto Tyro. Tyro sidesteps the birds, but not enough distance to really avoid an injure. That's going to be an injure onto Tyro. Just an M1. Swingblade goes to 2nd stage here. That's most likely going to be Shadowhunter emerging from the shadows to get Swingblade off the hook. But not quite yet, actually. It doesn't look like the unhook is anywhere nearby, really. I think Tyro's injury is going to make working on the generator a little bit more unsafe. But I think Tyro might have just opted to just get back on the generator, because knowing that the 4K is exactly what Gbot needs. You try and just push these gens as fast as you can. See here, now we see Shadowhunter emerging from the shadows, getting his teammate off. But this is the forced hesitation coming into play. We saw there, despite Swingblade potentially having, an exhaustion there, was a lot slower because of that forced hesi, but it doesn't matter in the end. Painrose coming through, another chase onto Georgie here. Georgie with nothing to work with. Georgie nothing to work. He's gonna have to. Tyro nothing to work with. Is just gonna end up taking the down in a corner. This is not looking good. They're trading. The PSR survivors are just like going back and forth on who's on the hook, but it's not enough to really get these gens done. They still have 3 gens they need to crank through. They don't only have the manpower really to take this on. Like they like, even assuming that like it takes each of them like a hook stain to pop each gen, which is kind of generous, they're still like gonna be outpaced by Gbot here. Gbot's in such a comfortable position right now to win the set and to keep advancing his team forward, because as you remember, this is the lower bracket. Like the loss here for the loss of the set, which seems inevitable for PSR, means that their elimination from this tournament. We see here Gbot just camping Tyro out. Camping Tyro out. Confirming the death, and this is gonna make it that much harder for PSR to pull something back together. It's looking very grim. We see Shadow Hunter re-emerging from the shadows here. I'm gonna keep saying that joke over and over again. And now we see the forced hezi. Look how slow Tyro is. The man is not making any distance anywhere. Like, that is forced hesitation value at its finest, and that is Tyro back on the ground. And that's gonna be an kill on to Tyro. And that, my friends, almost, and I say almost, spells Vicinal's doom. Because if you do remember what happened last time, Blade of did end up getting the hatch. It's gonna shine the flashlight in the direction of Gbot. Wants to get chased by Gbot. Looks like I think Swingblade at this point has kind of realized that it's over and is trying to get his ladder matches in for the end of the season. But we'll take the down, and with the down onto Swingblade, you see how ecstatic Gbot is. I'm ecstatic because this is we see Vicinal will take this replayed artist set and take the series overall 2-1. You see Gbot is just ecstatic with the way that things ended, and I'm ecstatic just because it can stop talking now. Like, I know I said I had it. Oh no, he's gonna close the hatch in Swingblade's. He's gonna close the hatch in Shadow Hunter's face. And it is over. I'm ecstatic because I said earlier I have a PhD in Yaponomics, but one of the theories in Yaponomics is the yap limit. Each person needs to realize what the yap limit is, and I'm about to approach it. And with that, the series is over. So, it is the end for PSR's run. Well played by honestly both these teams. This was such an evenly close matchup, as you saw by the multitude of replays. But in the end, one team can victorious, and that is Vicinal. And now Vicinal's tournament life will continue as they take on Dead Future in the next lower bracket match. So, I've been Monarch. This has been an absolute pleasure to cast, despite how rough my voice is at this point. And I hope to see you all later.